What's up, YouTube? It's the Action Figure Grader coming back to you with a Hasbro Star Wars Vintage Collection market update. And I've got this video divided into kind of halves. I've got the first half is, I believe, all unpunched TVC 1.0 that sold at auction, or a few buy it nows. The other half of the video are graded TVC, both recent releases as well as some, higher demand items that I think it's worth talking about. And one thing that I talked about privately, kind of offline, with a subscriber named Wade, and we were wondering, is TVC seeing a price breather right now? Our prices kind of flatten, and you can make that argument. I think it seems like with some rare exceptions on a few items, that prices have kind of leveled off now. That it just seems like the prices have not seen much change over the last few weeks. And I don't know if that's really true on the vintage Kenner side of things. We just saw in yesterday's video some pretty incredible prices for a number of vintage Kenner and Palitoy, Lily Lettys. It just seems like that market is still going full bore, full steam, no let up in price appreciation, really. But from my perspective, it does seem like, with a few rare exceptions, that the vintage collection line is seeing a little bit of slowdown, and maybe it's part of that's the holidays. We got Christmas coming up here soon. Maybe people are saving up for gifts, things like that. But I think if that was the case, the vintage Kenner market would have seen a little bit of slowdown. So let me know your thoughts as we kind of go through these, what you're seeing in the market, and whether you think we're seeing kind of a price breather. I don't know if we're necessarily on the downswing, but it seems like we've leveled off here over the last three to 4 weeks. The first one I wanted to talk about is VC44 Luke Skywalker Dagobah Landing. This is the dark blue saber version, and it looked to be in pretty good shape overall. Just some fair amount of edge wear on the back of this card, and this is one where I think that this goes against my thesis that prices have leveled, because this one did have a little bit of wear, and it wasn't significant, but it was a little bit, and it sold for $146. That was a little higher than I expected. I was talking offline with a Patreon subscriber, Darth Wizzy, and I thought it would sell for around $125, maybe $115 even. But this thing sold all the way as high as $146. So I don't know. I mean, maybe people just weren't that bothered by the edge wear. I think if I'm going to spend that kind of money on this one, I probably would have waited to have a little bit more patience. And Darth, this one may not be the same one we were talking about, because I thought that the one we were looking at was a light blue saber, but this one's very clearly the dark blue saber. So it might have been a different one that you and I were chatting about. But this one's not vintage collection, but this price really surprised me. I don't know what is going on with this price. This one sold for $140, and wow, what an ugly figure! Look how hideous this one. I think this is like a trilogy. Yeah, this is the original OTC original trilogy collection version of Luke, and this might go down, in my opinion, as the ugliest Luke farm boy in existence. But anyway, it sold for $140 on free shipping. I don't know if the buyer got it confused with the Death Star Escape version of Luke or what, but it doesn't even look like Luke to me. I don't know what's going on there. But anyway, this one did sell apparently for $140 shipped. So maybe I don't know. Again, it could be a mistake. It could be a fake sale. I don't know. Here's a VC34 Attack of the Clones Jango Fett. A really nice one. This one had a little bit of edge wear, but overall pretty good card overall, pretty good shape. It had some scratches near the hang tab on the back there, but that one sold for $142 plus shipping on 18 bids. And this one is way down versus the highs that we saw for Jango Fett, and we've talked about this in previous market updates, where Jango Fett got up to about $250, and this one did have some flaws, but it makes you wonder whether he's just come back down to reality a little bit. I don't know. But this is one I could certainly see Hasbro eventually, reissuing. And you can see the heavy wave on the card there, a lot of dust on the card. So it might have been just a condition issue. I don't know. But I think a lot of that wave can come out with a star case or a case shell, as Tom Hogan sells. And as a reminder, his contact information is in the description for every video of mine now, since he's been such a great channel supporter. Here's another one. This is an interesting one. This was the Lumat. He had two of them available, but a second one sold. And wow, $180 for that Lumat. We saw one that did sell in a different auction or in a different sale, and this is the same seller, and the second one did end up selling at $180. So just a big number for the TVC Lumat VC104. So really nice condition overall, though. But man, that's a big number. Now this is one, again, I would depend on you guys who are more qualified experts than I am in the TVC. But you can see here it's got some wear around the hang tab, but it is apparently still unpunched unless that was filled back in. It is Power Droid. Power Droid's the seller, so he's a great seller. I've bought plenty of him from him over the years. So my gut says that this is a very, very legitimate unpunched example of the Darth Vader Revenge of the Sith Anakin VC13, and this one was listed for $150. So pretty good number. It had a little curve to the card that we've talked about, that the case shells will straighten right out over time, but it did have some wear around that hang tab. But anyway, it did sell for $150, and I think that we looked at another one that was the Anakin name pill of this VC13 that sold for such a big number. I can't remember what it was now. It was like $400+. But anyway, for this Darth Vader unpunched, it sold for $150 on free shipping, which seems like a pretty good deal given the slight damage to the punch area. There were a few weak ways that sold. VC107. This one sold for $128.50. Pretty good shape overall. Yeah, really nice example, really. And the second one was another unpunched example. That one sold for $130 plus $8.50 shipping. So almost the exact same price as the first one that sold. Both of them in really good shape. This one had a little bit of edge wear down here in the lower left-hand corner on the back of the card back. But it looks like Weequay is kind of going for about $125 to $130 now. Maybe $140 after shipping. Which again, going back to the premise to start this video, this was a $200. I mean, this got up to $200 plus earlier this year. So Weequay's really come down. I could never pronounce this guy's name, but Search the Jedi Knight. This one was unpunched, really nice condition overall. That one sold for $145 plus $15 shipping. That's kind of in line, I think, with past sales. It's always been kind of in that $140 range here recently, so I don't think that's particularly low or high versus past sales. Another one that we've talked about many times. This is Grand Moff Tarkin, another example sold. Same seller as one of the earlier ones we just talked about, the Lumat. But this one, VC98, had just a little bit of edge wear, but overall really great shape. That one sold for $250 on free shipping. So again, that's 2.5 times what I paid for mine earlier this year that was already graded. Just crazy what Grand Moff Tarkin has done here over the last 12 weeks, or 12 months, excuse me. All right, now going back to VC102 Ahsoka, this one is one that, it'll be interesting to see how this one holds up as that reissue hits the market. But this was a beautiful unpunched one. And, Tom Hogan and Mark Chaplin over in the UK, a few other of you subscribers who watched my video on this, they're saying, and I think that they raise a good point, that this particular VC102 that's unpunched should hold its value pretty well, long term. I don't know if that's the case or not. I don't know, but I tend to agree with that, yes, it might dip short term, but long term, the unpunched examples will probably hold their value. I would think that particularly for the UK car, or excuse me, for the Canadian, the Hasbro Canada version of this unpunched VC102, I think that one should hold its value really well, just because you don't see that very often. I've only seen 2 or 3 examples of that on Facebook, and I can't remember any for sale that were unpunched for the Canadian version. So, but anyway, we'll see what happens. But this one was an unpunched example, really nice shape. That one sold for $548 plus $5 shipping, and this one was a AFA 80 plus, and that sold at $405, but it was very quickly relisted. So I don't know what happened there, but it sold, and then an hour later it was relisted. So I guess the buyer messaged him and says, I'm not paying. I don't know. But that is the case. That it was listed for $405, and it's now back on the market. And it's already got a number of watchers. But it is only an 80 plus. Card got a 90, blister 80, figure 90. So going back to what we talked about in yesterday's video about how a one subscore can bring the whole score down. You got 2 90s in this case of the card and figure, but the blister was an 80, and it still only got an 80 plus. So that just shows you that whatever they saw or whatever was going on with this blister was enough to bring the overall score down to an 80 plus. I don't know what is going on with it because it looks pretty mint to me, but that's just, you know, AFA, man, they can be pretty harsh with their grading. So anyway, that one's back up and for sale after selling but not selling. You know, I guess the buyer didn't pay. This one, this is probably the best deal, I think, out of everything we're looking at today. This was VC74, the Gungan Warrior, that was graded 9.25 on the modern scale. And that one sold for $73 plus $20 shipping. I thought that was a great deal for a very high grade TVC 1.0, 9.25. That's like a 90 plus. That's a great deal to me, $93 shipped. And this one, on the other end of the scale, this one seemed really high to me. It was uncirculated. It was uncirculated. It was only an 8.5. 8.5. That one sold for $280 plus $12 shipping. That number seems really high to me. I think that if you're patient in an auction, you can get an uncirculated 9.0 for that price. Or buy a sealed mailer box and send it in yourself, and you know, you can get that. You can get a sealed mailer box in excellent condition, mint condition, for about 130, maybe 150 bucks. So $280 plus shipping of $12. That's, you know, almost $300 for that. You know, I think I would be more patient. You could have gotten an uncirculated 9.0 for that price. Here's another one I thought it was a pretty good price. It was an uncirculated 9.0 Force Awakens Jakku Ray. That one hit and sold very quickly. That one sold for $89 shipped. And then this one, there's still one of these available. That two of them have sold. This was an uncirculated Mandalorian in his Beskar armor, uncirculated 9.0 on the modern scale. Two of those sold at $140 plus another $15 shipping. So a lot of these, you know, waves that came out over the last, you know, 6 to 8 months are finally coming back from AFA, just given the backlog that the grading companies have had. And anyway, two of those have sold. One of them still available if you're looking for a high grade Mandalorian in the Beskar. Same seller also had this one. One has sold, one is still available. $140 plus $15 shipping for Clone Captain Rex, uncirculated 9.0. I love that card back, by the way. It's just really nice. And then Boba Fett, one has sold, one is still available. Now this one has the chest sensors, and we talked about this in my unboxing video. They say chest plate sensors, not chest plate dent. CAS. CAS, please update your label. It's not a dent, it's a sensor. So this one that's the correct label in my opinion. So this is the later corrected version of the Boba Fett on the Return of the Jedi card back with the chest sensor. 9.25 uncirculated, really nice high grade. One is sold at $240 plus $15 shipping, and one is still available. And then if you want a little bit slightly lower grade, this one, two has sold, one is still available for $180 plus $15 shipping, and that's a U 9.0. So 9.25 is $240, and then a 9.0 is $180. So about $60 difference to go from an uncirculated 9.0 to a 9.25. All right, now I finally got my act together. So this is the uncirculated 9.0 archival case, Jar Jar Binks in carbonite. This is the SDCC exclusive. Now it was listed at $2,000, and at best offer accepted. I finally remembered to go to I don't remember the website off the top of my head now, but I've got it saved in my bookmarks. So if we got an interesting sale that's best offer accepted, I will promise to look them up if I can find them. It took a little hunting, but I finally did find it. It was $2,000. The best offer accepted was $1,500. So this one was an uncirculated 9.0, sold for 1,500 big ones for Jar Jar Binks. And I think earlier this year, you know, Jeff's Collectible Empire sold a 9.0, but it was circulated. So this is an uncirculated 9.0. That circulated version that Jacob sold for about $1,100 if memory serves. And then to get an uncirculated a little bit later in the year, where prices have still gone up apparently a little bit, that sold for $1,500. So $1,100 to $1,500 just to get the uncirculated designation. But anyway, that's a pretty incredible price point for that one, and totally flies in the face of the conversation that I had with a subscriber about whether TVC is holding up or not. But I just thought it was worth pointing out what the final actual sales price was for that one. Finally, before we wrap this video up, this was another good deal, I thought, and maybe supports the argument that prices maybe just aren't there yet, but or aren't really appreciating that much. But this was a beautiful UKG graded 90% gold Luke Skywalker in a Stormtrooper disguise. That sold for $60. And if you were happen to be local, when I say local, I mean in the UK, and got reasonable shipping for that. The shipping for me was $54, which is almost the cost of the item itself. But if you're in the UK and you can get that for 45 pounds, that it seems like a steal to me. What a great deal that was. So congrats whoever got that one. And only one bidder. That's crazy to me that nobody was willing to bid on that. Anyway, that's all I really had for this video, but let me know your thoughts on the premise that the vintage collection is taking a price breather. It does seem that way sometimes. And then we see the uncirculated Jar Jar and Carbonite that sold for $1,500. So who knows? But I just thought it was worth kind of bringing up that discussion topic, and I'd love to hear your thoughts. Thanks so much, and I'll be back soon.